So starting off, we have Carnivine. One of the main issues I feel Carnivine has is that it's just another grass Pokemon that kind of gets lost within the Pokedex. It has a cool ability in Levitate, but everything else about its moves, typings, and stats just makes it forgettable. Which is why when I was looking for possible evolution designs, I wanted to find something that would make it stand out from the crowd and not just be another basic plant. So here we have Venuscent, a grass fairy Pokemon created by Artese, and already the design is feeling a lot more noticeable than Carnivine. Artese created the name in the Pokedex entry. I picked the ability Arena Trap, which I felt complemented the story that was being told by the artist, and I also tweaked the stats of Carnivine, essentially making it have more HP, attack, and special attack. Grass Fairy definitely isn't innovative, but I think leaning into the darker side of what a fairy-type Pokemon could be really helps the design stand out. One of my favourite bird Pokemon is Clocktowl. Ever since Ash caught the shiny version in Pokemon Johto, I've always thought this Pokemon was done dirty. So when it was suggested in the comments, I just had to dive in and look at what could be done to make it more of a standout. Here we have Clocktowl by Dragara. The design provided everything except the stats and ability. Personally, I agree with the Psychic Flying typing, and it's something I felt that Clocktowl should have been from the start, giving its move pool. For the stats, I just increased the special attack and speed. The rest of the stats were competitive as they are, and the only thing holding Clocktowl back is the typing and move pool. Another reason why I chose this design is because it reminds me of the Owl from Legend of Zelda. Always thought that character was hilarious as a kid, and I even added a nod to it in the Pokedex entry, if you hadn't already made the connection. Kricketune is one of those Pokemon that has kind of middle Evo syndrome. It's the final form of a line, but it feels as though it should evolve again to make its design more complete. One of the issues with Kricketune is that stat-wise, it is a weaker version of Cypher. They both carry the ability Technician, but Cypher, even Scizor, just pulls this off better. So I really wanted to address this with their evolution and find a means to make it more competitive and an option over Cypher/Scizor. The result of this was Krickalot, designed by Matt4265. I personally enjoyed the vest, the growing of the mustache, and how they managed to create this conductor/maestro bug. Despite Kricketune already having that vibe, I think that's really cool. The name, typing, and Pokedex entry were provided by Kaboomle on Twitter. For the stats, I went ahead and combined the stat pool of both Pinsir and Cypher, effectively making Krickalot a more sturdy option for Technician. The adding of the Fairy type and a change up of the move pool could really see Krickalot being a viable competitive Pokemon. Binder falls into the same issues as Carnivine. It's just another normal type Pokemon that doesn't really do much or have a wow factor. One thing I did like about it though is the fact that Spinder has the ability Contrary, and it's just 60 across the board in terms of its stats, so I decided to lean into that with the design of the evolution. Here we have Unsteddy. The name was provided by the artist LluisAbadias. Probably said that wrong again, but you might recognize him as the Tauros designer from the previous video we did on evolutions. I felt that adding another type to Unsteddy would help to separate it from the other normal type Pokemon, and the reason I went with Psychic is to match the story I placed into the Pokedex entry. Psychic also works well with the ability of Contrary, and then for the stats, I just boosted everything to 80 and then added 10 more points to attack and special attack just to give it a bit more firepower. Overall, I think this is a really cool design, and I would love to see a red panda in the game. Octillery is a Pokemon that has confused people since it was introduced. Even to this day, I know people who have no idea it evolves from Remoraid. Despite being memorable as a fun trivia game, Octillery just doesn't do anything to make a splash compared to the other mons in the Pokedex. This is Krakannon, a mega evolution designed by Chains of Ashes for Octillery, but I figured it was cool enough to just be an evolution by itself. I gave it the dark typing because my idea is that Octillery in the wild would evolve after diving down into the depths of the ocean. They would kind of adapt to this new surroundings and then evolve to suit that. And then in terms of game mechanics, you could just evolve it with a Dust Stone, I suppose. I decided on Mega Launcher for the ability and catered its stats to making it more of a dedicated Trick Room carry compared to Chloritza. So Chloritza kind of has the same stats, but it's more of like a mid-tier speed. So I figured this gave Krakannon a bit more of a identity when it came to the other Pokemon. In terms of the height and weight, I made it half the size of a Wailord. But, I mean, you could probably make it bigger than a Wailord, and I think it'd be really cool if Krakannon specifically ate Wailords. Like, it's a big Kraken, and it's eating all the whales. I think that's pretty cool. Sawsbuck is one of the best Pokemon in terms of themes, although they kind of missed the ball by not changing the type whenever seasons change. That could have been really cool. Stat-wise, it's not horrible, and it even has a good ability in Chlorophyll, but they just did it dirty with the move pool, and again, the typing. So here we have Monhart. The name comes from heart being another word for deer/stag, and Mon is from monarch, which is a name given to stags that have developed more than 16 points on their antlers. I made this evolution pure male because of the fact that stags are male deer, and I kind of envision the idea of your Soul Spark evolving after it's made 10 Pokemon faint. Typing-wise, I went with Ground not only because it's a great typing in general, but also just as a nod to the concept that deer are always digging up people's lawns. I found that in my research as I was kind of looking up stags, and I thought that was really cool. I didn't do much to the stats, just some small tweaks to make it more variable, with the main idea being that Chlorophyll is going to be why people would choose this Pokemon. Delibird, in my eyes, has always been kind of a mean Pokemon, mostly because its main interaction is to be a deck collector for Team Rocket. I'm honestly surprised it hasn't received an evolution though, just because there is a lot of ways you could take this Pokemon thematically. The main thing I found when looking up different fakemons for this is that a lot of people like the idea of evolving Delibird with Charcoal, which I thought was really cool, and some of the ideas that came out of that were also pretty awesome. So here we have Krampuror, which is a mixture of Krampus and Emperor Penguin. The ability, name, and Pokedex entry were all done by the artist JessJackdaw. I personally really love the idea of the ability. It's essentially neutralizing gas, but instead of stopping abilities, it stops held items, and I think that could be really cool for competitive and just general Pokemon battles. In terms of the stats, I made it a special attacking version of Galarian Domanitan when it's in its Zen mode. I thought it'd be kind of nice to have the only other Fire Ice Pokemon be a different offensive typing. The way I justify the speed is because this Pokemon is meant to be based off Krampus, who travels around with Santa Claus, and they need to get around the world in basically a night, if you believe the tales. So that seems pretty speedy to me. Now, being Australian, the introduction of Kamala always struck a chord with me. I was so excited to use this Pokemon on my team, only to find out that despite it having a good ability, its typing was horrible, the stats mediocre, and it didn't evolve. So when this was suggested in the comments, I jumped at the chance to do this Pokemon justice. The result we have here is Nekkoala, a normal grass Pokemon who was named by the artist Phatmon. I really love the idea of Nekkoala spending its only waking moment trying to shape its hammer, and I have this kind of, I suppose, dark idea that the wood being used came from the tree that Phantom/Trevenant would be born from. So I thought it'd be really cool if this Nekkoala and Trevenant kind of have this rivalry, because the Nekkoala used the tree that Trevenant's born from to give wood to their child Kamalas. I don't know, I just always like those type of connections. If I wasn't just doing a hue shift on the shinies, I would actually make the shiny brown and like the hammer white, kind of to match Trevenant's shiny form. In terms of stats, I kind of just went with what Conqueror has, but I made Nekkoala more specially defensive, whereas Conqueror is more defensive. Nekkoala is also a little bit slower, so it might be a bit more suited for Trick Room teams, but I just thought it'd be another viable option, and the grass normal typing is a little bit different from Conqueror as well. If I was to ask you to name all the fighting Pokemon in Generation 1, and you somehow forgot to mention Primeape, I honestly could not blame you. This Pokemon had a small role on Ash's team in the anime, and then just kind of disappeared, like a lot of Pokemon in the Pokedex. So today, we look to make this Pokemon great again. Furilla is a fire fighting Pokemon. The typing was created by the artist, and I felt this really suited an evolution for Primeape. Also, there is no firefighting Pokemon outside of starters, and that should probably change. The concept of design is actually pretty cool. I like to think the veins on the outside are pumping magma through Furilla's body. If you haven't already figured it out, Furilla is a combination of Fury plus Gorilla, and with the Pokedex entry, I kind of went a little bit darker than what I did with some of the other ones. But in all honesty, I was probably going to go even darker. Instead of making it going into a coma, I was thinking about it just straight up dying. So I held back a bit, but yeah, I think this is a pretty cool Pokemon. I would love to see it. Shuckle is much like Dunsparce in a way. It's a Pokemon that deserved an evolution, but kind of was just ignored for many generations. The only plus side for Shuckle is that it actually had some crazy defensive stats, so it was used in competitive Pokemon, whereas Dunsparce is kind of just, oh look, I caught you for the Pokedex, now sit in the box forever. So given that Shuckle is seen as kind of like a defensive master, I wanted to explore the idea of a Shuckle that was a bit more offensive. So here we have Huskswol. The idea behind this Pokemon is that Shuckle started to get addicted to the juice that it made inside its shell, and then all the nutrients and properties of that juice kind of made it started to swell out and bulk out, and then it kind of obviously had to evolve to make room for all of its extra limbs. For the ability, I just kept Sturdy, which seems pretty overpowered for a Pokemon with this much offensiveness, because you can obviously then add items on top of it, but I think Shuckle's okay with it. For the stats, I couldn't just do a straight swap of defense to offense, because Shuckle has 230 defense and 230 special defense, so if I put that onto like special attack and attack, or if I put that into attack and speed, even if it's a glass cannon and it gets hit in one shot, it's got Sturdy or it has a Focus Sash, this Pokemon is guaranteed to one-shot anything. at least once. So I thought I'd rein that in a little bit. I decided to not do anything with special attack. I just like the idea of this Pokemon being a hulking beast that kind of punches people with its weird meat paws. And then I just made it speedy. All in all, I think Huskswol is a really cool Pokemon. I would love to see Shuckle kind of evolve into a more offensive typing. And I thought this was a really cool way to do it. I like the whole juicer idea. And that's it. So these are the 10 Pokemon that were most mentioned to me either in YouTube comments or sent to me in private messages. If you think any other Pokemon deserve an evolution, let me know down below. Let me know what you think of these Pokemon. Do you agree with the stats? Would you change anything else? Let's just get a complete discussion going. I'm happy to answer any questions or basically just talk about anything in regards to this or anything else you may want to discuss. Like always, if you are enjoying the content, please let me know by leaving a like. And also don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content going forwards. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Cheers!